What is good, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the WeSportin podcast. And of course, I'm here with my co-host, Drew. Drew, say what up.
What's good, everybody? How's everybody doing? Hey, Nico, you got a new mic. It sounds great, my guy.
Yes, guys, we upgraded the setup a little bit, upgraded a little bit, but now we're back. We're ready. We're here to talk about the divisional round, which let's say that this divisional round was pretty good. Not gonna lie, this was a good divisional round amongst all the teams. Sucks to see all the teams go home, but now we have to look forward. But let's recap these. Let's recap the divisional round just in case people didn't get to watch it this weekend. Drew, you want to open us up on that Green Bay and Rams game that's ended 32-18 Packers?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, you said it. Green Bay took the game 32-18. It was in Green Bay. I mean, Green Bay was favored by a touchdown. Nico and I both picked the Packers to win, and pretty much it happened exactly as planned. You know, the Rams came in with the number one defense, but the Packers offense, they had no problem with the Rams defense. I mean, Rodgers looked great. You know, they tallied 188 yards on the ground. You know, all running backs were involved. Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, A.J. Dillon. The offensive line held up really, really well, even without David Bakhtiari. They didn't give up a sack. And, you know, there's good play all around from the Packers. You know, their defense was good. You know, they got stops when they needed to get stops. Packers offense, they put up points as they should have. But I think the real surprise in this game came from the Rams offense. Jared Goff looked surprisingly good. You know, he was wearing a glove on his throwing hand, and like the ball was actually coming out of his hand really, really well. A lot of tight spirals. I mean, he had a really good game, 21 for 27, 174 yards and a touchdown. I mean, granted, there were a lot of short throws, but there were a lot of high percentage throws, a lot of completions. You know, that was the one thing that the Packers really needed to limit was like the Rams. Every time they dropped back to pass, it seemed like they were getting 4-6 yards, just like a quick little dunk here. And it really shows in the stat line. I mean, Jared Goff had a passer rating over 100. I mean, he barely like his passer rating was just under Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers had a passer rating of 109. Jared Goff was at 106. So Jared Goff played really, really well. And another thing that surprised me from the Rams is their running back, Cam Akers. Cam Akers had a field day. I mean, and I thought like the Packers were going to key in on them on the run. And they did for the most part, but there were some plays where Cam Akers fought for extra yards, you know, running hard, breaking tackles, and 18 carries, 90 yards and a touchdown. Cam Akers played really well, and I see superstar potential for that young running back.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I mean, one thing I think we do need to touch on, and yeah, thank God you brought up Cam Akers, who had an amazing day. Aaron Jones also had an amazing day as well. But let's talk about that Rams defense. Everyone's saying number one defense, and Aaron Rodgers torched them. Let's just go with this. I remember the play. What were you gonna say?
I wasn't that worried about the Rams defense coming in because, you know, I mean, yeah, they were ranked number one. Aaron Donald was a little banged up, but Aaron Donald was really a non-factor. And I knew even without Bakhtiari, this offensive line could hold up just fine. And it really showed.
Yeah, I mean, one thing we did see though in that Rams Packers game was just a lot of confusion. Couldn't you agree? I feel like there was a lot of confusion, a lot of miscommunications amongst the defense. We saw on the goal line when Aaron Rodgers threw the pass to Davante Adams on the reverse route that he went to the left side, then ran right back. And we didn't see Troy Hill go and cover Davante Adams on that route. And Jalen Ramsey, I hate to say this, but Jalen Ramsey was kind of getting exposed a little bit out there. I mean, he was getting exposed by Davante Adams, Allen Lazard, who Lazard finished with 4 receptions, 96 yards, 101 touchdown. And I mean, he torched them. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, we saw, like I said, Jalen Ramsey, and we saw a banged up Aaron Donald. I mean, the Packers, I'll say this, throughout the whole game, the momentum was just shifted towards Green Bay. The momentum, Green Bay had all that momentum in the world. And after not playing for about a week or so, after not playing for almost a week or two, maybe, they just came out right where they left off, and they just torched that Rams defense that everyone's saying that's number one. So good win for the Packers though.
Absolutely. And you touched on Davante Adams versus Jalen Ramsey. I actually read something before the game that Davante Adams and Jalen Ramsey had to be separated. And, it wasn't like anything physical. It was just, there was a lot of back and forth between Adams and Ramsey.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe the quote was Adams was telling Ramsey to like shadow him the whole game because that's what the people came there to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But when Davante Adams and Jalen Ramsey did match up, Jalen Ramsey had a really, really hard time. Like you said on that touchdown pass, Davante Adams absolutely lost Ramsey, and Ramsey was really, really frustrated, showed it on the field and on the sidelines afterwards. And I remember there was this one slant route where Adams ran. He gave him a little outside move and then cut back to the inside, caught a slant pass for about 9 yards. And Jalen Ramsey was nowhere to be found after that little first move. So I feel like Davante Adams really got the better of Jalen Ramsey. And it shows on the stat line. Davante Adams, 9 catches, 10 targets, 66 yards, and a touchdown. So I think it's fair to say that Adams won that battle.
No doubt about it. And as we go now into, as like Drew said, I mean, it was a great game, great battle amongst the two teams. And me and Drew ended up picking the Green Bay Packers. So, that's good too. But now let's move on to the game where I took the tie with Drew, which was Buffalo versus Baltimore. This game, I'll say this. At the beginning of the game, it was one of the most defensive battles I have ever seen in an NFL game up till the third quarter. I'll say this, great game by both teams. It was an exciting game to watch. It had me on my seat the whole entire game. I mean, we saw Josh Allen we just saw Josh Allen do what he does all season, and that's, be Josh Allen. But one thing I do want to talk about that game was the Bills defense. The Bills held Lamar in that offense to 0 points until the 4-second mark. In the second quarter, they held them to 0 points. Buffalo was leading 3-0 the whole game until Baltimore kicked the field goal to go tie the game at the half. And with Justin Tucker being 0 for 2 at the time, so he actually finished 1 for 3 after kicking that field goal. But I mean, one thing's for certain though is that Josh Allen just immediately did not care. Okay, he didn't care who was on that secondary. He didn't care about this Lamar talk he was hearing. He had a field day. He himself had 23 completions. I'm sorry. 23 completions, 37 overall, 206 yards, 1 touchdown. I mean, he played phenomenal, but Stephon Diggs, listen to these stats by Stephon Diggs real quick. 8 receptions, 106 yards, 1 touchdown. Now, let me ask you this, and this is, a question towards Drew. This is for people at home too. Do you think after this season, Stephon Diggs cements himself as a top 5 wide receiver?
Oh yeah, no doubt. No doubt. The emergence of Stephon Diggs this year has really transformed Buffalo's offense. Like if we look to last year, the Buffalo Bills didn't really have that playmaker at the wide receiver position. They didn't really have that superstar, and the acquisition of Stephon Diggs, along with the growth and development of Josh Allen, really propelled that Buffalo offense to be one of the most explosive in the NFL. And I mean, it makes sense. And in this game in particular, the Buffalo Bills offense ran through the pass and Josh Allen. I mean, they hardly ran the ball. I mean, their first 13 plays, all pass attempts. They didn't really try to hide the fact that they didn't run the ball. And it didn't really matter because Allen was, rolling out, making throws, doing what he does. I mean, there was a play where he dropped back to pass, slipped, fell, got up, rolled out to the right, and threw an absolute bullet for a first down. And it's plays like that that really shows how far Josh Allen has come as a quarterback. And I remember I said this last week, the Buffalo Bills will only go as far as Josh Allen takes them. And with the development of Josh Allen, I feel like the sky's the limit for them. Like it's 100%. They have a real shot to win this game next week against Kansas City.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And we also did see Lamar Jackson go down as well in that game as well. They had to bring in I think Tyler
Huntley, the rookie from Utah.
And Tyler Huntley he low-key played the same way that Lamar did, just ran out the pocket, running around basically. But one thing I do want to overshadow on is because, I do want to, kind of, bring this out a little bit. Let's talk about that Terrion Johnson pick six, 101 yards into the end zone. I think right there that touchdown interception really cemented the game for the Buffalo Bills. And that's one thing too, is that Terrion Johnson, like that secondary, that whole game was all defense, 100% all defense. Like that's all we saw. And then the one time that the Buffalo Bills did score a touchdown, it was on a bubble screen to Stephon Diggs, and he had to basically kind of throw himself into the end zone. We saw. And then, as we're, looking at, Baltimore getting in the end zone, we're all freaking out for Bills fans. We're all just looking at it and we're just, saying, oh, like what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? And then he throws the pick. And I mean, that right there cemented the game. And Terrion Johnson, to me personally, is the MVP of that game because he sealed that game up. I mean, he played amazing. He had 6 tackles and interception, which, I mean, I think that's really good for him. So good job for the Buffalo Bills. They will be moving on to play Kansas City next week. And Drew, who'd you pick? You picked Baltimore for this game, didn't you?
I mean, I did pick Baltimore, and something that I don't think you touched on was Buffalo's game plan defensively. And I think that really shone through. What's the word? It doesn't matter. Yeah. The Bills defense, their game plan was to limit Lamar Jackson and the run, and they made life very hard for runners. I mean, J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, they each averaged 4 yards a carry. Lamar Jackson averaged a little less than 4, about like 3.8, if my math is correct. I don't know. But, the Bills defense, played zone coverage and pass, spied Lamar Jackson all day, made sure he stayed contained. Mm-hmm. And the way the Bills game planned it was basically they said, if the Baltimore Ravens are going to beat us, they're going to throw the ball. And Lamar Jackson really had a tough time doing that. Like Lamar Jackson seemed like he was pressing a lot, trying to force balls in there where, it wasn't really that open. Like with that Mark Andrews ball, like with like that Terrion Johnson pick six that you said, the window wasn't really open. It was I think it was a third down where he was really trying to punch it into the end zone. And, he threw a tight ball. And I mean, if you fly too close to the sun, eventually you're going to get burned. Mm-hmm. And like you said, 101 yards the other way, and Buffalo takes a commanding lead. But I will say this, Lamar Jackson did not have an easy time in general throwing the ball, but Buffalo did a great job of limiting the Ravens' run on first and second down to where instead of Lamar being faced with like a 3rd and 3, they're like a 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 9 instead. And it's a lot harder to consistently convert 3rd and 9 than a 3rd and 3. So I just want to highlight the Buffalo Bills defense and their game plan. They played the Ravens very, very well. And it makes sense that they limited that offense to 3 points.
Yeah, 100%. And as that game goes on, they will be playing the Kansas City Chiefs. And let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Cleveland Browns. That game, a lot of high drama with that game. Let's put that out right there. A lot of high drama. A game ended 22-17. Chiefs taking it all the way. First things first. I will say this, Drew. You can agree to disagree with me, of course. Mahomes came there aggressive. He was.
Oh, absolutely. No rust at all.
Like he came out there first thing he did for their first touchdown, he ran it in. He ran in that touchdown, basically throwing his body out there to score. And then, I mean, obviously, he had a toe problem as well. And then he goes to suffers a concussion. He is questionable now for this Sunday. Now, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? That is still yet to be determined by the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, that's the big storyline for the AFC Championship. Mm-hmm. And that'll impact a lot, in that game, whether Patrick Mahomes is able to go or not. We believe this is his first concussion, at least like as a pro. So, I mean, what they're saying right now is that it's about a 50-50 chance of Mahomes sitting or playing, but that's something to definitely monitor throughout the week because that'll be a huge impact on the AFC Championship. But back to this AFC divisional round. You said it, Patrick, there was no rust. I said that there might be rust. that take was freezing cold
Mhm.
because on the first 4 drives, Kansas City scored on each one of them 19 points on the board
Mhm.
like that. And Cleveland found themselves in a big hole at the half. And like I said earlier, I was watching the game and I was thinking there's no like the Browns offense or the Browns defense could not stop this Chiefs offense and they weren't going to win a shootout. But then they caught a break when Patrick Mahomes in the third quarter ran and got that concussion, got up a little woozy,
Mhm.
um, ran to the locker room, and Chad Haney had to come in. And that is when Cleveland came back and put up 14 unanswered in the third and fourth quarter. And I mean, they almost won the game if it weren't for a daring Chad Haney run
Mhm.
on third and long to get the first down. It was a fourth and short coming up, but then they converted the first down and
Yeah,
clinched the game.
it
But
was a play action pass to Tyreek Hill on the 4-4-1 to either steal the game or to basically give it back to Cleveland.
it was to seal the game. It was to seal the game.
In
And I think that like the ability of the Kansas City Chiefs to stave off the Browns because they definitely had the momentum going forward
Mhm.
at that point. And Chad Haney did enough. I mean, social media, you look on Twitter, hashtag anything is possible.
Yeah.
Um, they got the job done and the Chiefs are moving on.
Yeah, one thing I do want to touch on as well is that the Cleveland Browns had a very, very slow start, only getting 3 points on the board at the half, and then coming in and only getting they got 2 touchdowns, but they didn't score their first touchdown until 9 minutes in the third quarter. It kind of just shows you.
Hold on. But I just want to say something. In the first half, that Rashard Higgins fumble out of the end zone, that was a killer.
That was
That
that was a helmet to helmet contact at the
Yeah, no,
end.
that was absolutely, so for those of you who didn't watch the play, Rashard Higgins caught a pass on the sidelines and diving into the end zone, Daniel Sorensen, the safety for the Kansas City Chiefs, comes across head-to-head contact with Higgins. Higgins drops the ball and fumbles it out of the back of the end zone. And so instead of it being, I think it was, it would have been like,
First
it would have
and
been like a one-score game up to that point. I think it would have been like, I don't know, like 10-19 or something at that point. It made it.
Cleveland would have been up 10-6 at that time. I remember that happened in the it happened 10-6. It would have been 10-6.
Oh, really? So it was like earlier in the game.
It was in the first quarter, I believe.
All right. Well, I know it was in the first half, but like instead of Cleveland having a score, ball goes out of the back of the end zone and Kansas City gets it at the 20. And can we just agree like that's a stupid rule and that needs to be changed? Can we agree on that, please?
Yeah, I mean, what we saw there, I mean, we saw Daniel Sorensen basically go helmet to helmet.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about a ball fumbled out of the back of the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if the offense fumbles the ball anywhere and it goes out of bounds, the offensive team retains the ball. But if they fumble it out of the end zone, then the defense gets the ball at the 20-yard line. And I'm like, and that, I don't quite understand that. And that makes me scratch my head. And another thing is that the helmet to helmet, Daniel Sorensen, that wasn't a reviewable play, which why that isn't reviewable, I have no idea.
Potentially.
But I mean, I wouldn't say lost them the game because there was still a lot of game left to go at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But it was definitely a turning point in that game. And a lot of momentum that would have went Cleveland's way was taken away from them very fast.
Yeah, it was something that a lot of Cleveland Brown fans and even myself, I was going for Kansas City that game. Drew was going for the Browns. Yeah, you were going for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I had picked the Browns, and I was pretty close to being right.
Yeah.
Hey, if I had bet on that game, if I had bet the line was Kansas City -8. I mean, I would have won money because Cleveland covered. But I mean, we're not betting the line here. We're betting outright who wins. I bet the Browns. Nico bet the Chiefs. Nico just happened to take it. So
yeah, and
I think. What are you gonna say?
I was gonna close this one out for this game real quick, and so yeah, final score 22-17. It was a great game, and Kansas City now will go on to face the Buffalo Bills next week, and now for our final game that Drew will be covering. And I'm going to be touching base on some stuff on there because there's some things that I was a little iffy with. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints. Basically, career-ending game or go home for Brees. Drew, you want to open it up for this game?
Yeah, sure. I'll open it up for this game. Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints hosted Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the third time this season, and it was arguably the final battle between two legendary quarterbacks, two future Hall of Famers, Drew Brees and Tom Brady. The final score of that game, Tampa Bay coming away with it 30-20. And in what was Drew Brees' arguably, he hasn't decided to retire yet, but what was looking like Drew Brees' final game, it really wasn't the send-off that he deserved. You know, Drew Brees didn't play well down the stretch at all. Like, he went 19 for 34, 134 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions that were really killers. And I mean, the Saints had a 7-point lead in the third quarter, 20-13, but Tampa Bay came back and won it, you know, off of the back of some, you know, Drew Brees turnovers. So, you know, I have to touch on, you know, that this isn't the way that Drew Brees should go out. But I mean, if this is how he goes out, then it is the end to an absolutely legendary career.
Yeah, one thing is for sure. Drew Brees had an amazing career, recording 1 Super Bowl. I mean, he was a great quarterback. There's on the display. I will say this, and I don't want to hop off topic, but I don't want to say anything. Drew, did you watch that game fully?
I mean, I was busy during the game. I mean, I watched, like, you know, bits and pieces, but I didn't really sit down and, like, thoroughly watch.
Well, I will tell you this. So there was a touchdown that got taken, like this game, and I'm not gonna be, because I was unbiased with this game because these are not my teams. I can care less about these two teams because they're not mine. But this game was called in both ways very, very wrongly on both the Saints and the Buccaneers. I don't know if you saw, but Chris Godwin should have had a touchdown. I don't at the end of the second half. I don't know if you saw it, but there was a Godwin touchdown, and he caught it, and then he lost it out of bounds, but he got both feet in, he fell out of bounds, and then the ball came out, and then they ruled that a non-football move, and they did not give him the touchdown for it. And I'm just like sitting here kind of questioning, and there was a lot of holding calls. This game, I'll tell you guys, this is one of the most this is probably one of the most spiciest games of the playoffs. I mean, these teams do not like each other one bit, and we saw a lot of scuffles in these games. We saw Mike Evans, Antonio Brown get limited to 1 reception a game. We saw guys like Scotty Miller come big with 1 reception, 29 yards. We saw Leonard Fournette doing really good in the pass game and the run game as well. I think recording over, I could be wrong with math here, but over plus 110 yards of offense, total offense, and a touchdown. And you know, like you said, Drew, this is Drew Brees' last year. One cool thing that we saw is I think they use the same Chicago play as well. Winston.
That was pretty cool where they used the direct snap to Alvin Kamara and had Jameis Winston throw in long ball to Traquan Smith for the touchdown. I mean, it's really cool to see it actually work and, like, you know, learn from their past opponent. I mean, it's a copycat league, you know. Teams are going to see things from different teams and, like, copy it and
100%.
expand on it. I think it was really cool for the Saints to have success, you know, so I think that was really cool. On the flip side, though, I want to touch on Tom Brady. Tom Brady, this game, if it hasn't already proven that he's great, it really showed that Tom Brady is able to ad lib and, like, overcome adversity, because during the course of the game, a lot of things did not go his way. Like, especially considering, like, a lot of his weapons were either non-factors, inconsistent, or injured, whether that be Chris Godwin dropping passes, Cameron Brate dropping passes, Rob Gronkowski being a non-factor, Antonio Brown getting hurt. I mean, Tom Brady still found a way to play very, very well and lead his team to a comeback victory. And I think that really speaks on Tom Brady's ability as a quarterback and a leader, you know? So, I mean, we already have confirmed that Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback to ever lace up cleats. You don't think Tom Brady's the GOAT?
No, personally not. I got to give it to,
Wow.
I'm still on the Montana on the Montana side of it because I think Joe
You're
Montana.
still on the Montana side of it? All right. Well, we can discuss that in a future hot takes episode.
Yeah. But one thing I
But
will
anyways,
say, though, guys, one thing I will say real quick before I close this video out. I personally do not think that Drew Brees is retiring after this year. Yes, there's a lot of speculations, but for a guy who desperately wants to give a ring back to New Orleans before he goes out, I don't think a guy like Drew Brees wants to go out with 134 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions with a QBR of 31.7. That's not the way Drew Brees is going to walk out. I think he's going to come back for one more year, and I hope Drew Brees comes back for one more year. But that's just me. I honestly think he's going to come back, but speculations are saying he's going to retire. So, our hats off to Drew Brees for one. Great guy all around. Good. I mean, great football player. Probably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And
I'd have to agree. Whether it's Drew Brees' final NFL game is speculation. I mean, there are some people that saying he may retire, he may not retire. Drew Brees said he's going to keep that to himself, and Sean Payton said that's a press conference for a later time. But like Nico, you basically said it all. Whether he retires or not, hats off to one of the all-time greats, a future Hall of Famer, definitely has a spot in Canton, and just a class act and a great person.
Yeah, very true. Well, and with all good things have to come to an end. So thank you guys for watching this week's episode of the WeSportin podcast. And our next video is going to be on our predictions of the NFC AFC championship game that will be coming out later in the week. But yeah, if you guys want to see more of that, like and comment down below, subscribe if you want to, and thank you guys for watching. Peace.